हाँ નથી ઉઠીને હારે ન પડે ઉઠીને હારવા ન પડે અને
Good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam.
Yes, madam.
We start with engineering insurance today. Yesterday we had fire insurance. For the exam, fire and engineering is one subject. However, you cannot say how many questions will be there on engineering, though we feel there is more focus on fire. So from the exam point of view, we are going to see engineering insurance today. Though less policies are being done and we feel it is tough, but actually from the exam point of view, if we see engineering insurance is quite interesting and not all that difficult if we do a systematic study. As discussed yesterday, we have to focus on all the covers, exclusions, conditions in depth so that we understand the policies properly. Okay, we start with engineering insurance. In engineering insurance, there are mainly two types of policies. One is project insurance policies and construction phase policies. Project insurance policies and construction phase policies. Sorry, project insurance policies, which are construction phase policies. Like marine come, you're not able to hear. Not audible?
Good sound, madam.
Audible, ma'am, audible.
Yeah, there's somebody put a message, not audible. Okay, project insurance policies, which are construction phase policies. And there will be installed machineries policies, which will be annual policies. Understand the difference? Project insurance policies are the construction phase policies. And as we already know, these policies will not have annual.
Audible.
Not audible?
We check your connection.
The construction phase policies or project insurance policies, we are already aware, they need not be of 1 year. Like our general insurance policies, maximum policies are 1 year policies. Or sometimes we are issuing short period policies. But project policies, as we know, project may not be of necessarily 1 year. It may be shorter than 1 year or it may be longer than 1 year, 24 months, 36 months, that is possible. So project policies, which are generally in the construction phase and before the installation or before the project is completed, which are these policies? So this is the classification of the policies only, that marine come erection all risk, contractors all risk, which we generally say CR, contractors plant and machinery, and advanced loss of profit. This is just a classification of project insurance policies, or in other words, construction phase policies. Now, installed machinery policies or annual policies, or in other words, operation phase policies. So we say construction phase policies or operation phase policies. Construction phase policies we have seen. Now what we are seeing are the operation phase policies. That is the policies required once the operation starts after the construction. So which will be either installed machineries, which will be annual policies, and these policies will be given in the operation phase and not in the construction phase. So machinery insurance, boiler and pressure plants, BPP, electronic equipment, EEI, deterioration of stock, in which we have two. The potatoes is separate and other than potatoes is separate. That is deterioration of stock. Machinery, loss of profit. Yesterday we have seen FLOP, that is fire, loss of profit. When the loss of profit is given against fire policy, it is FLOP. When it is given against machinery policy, machinery breakdown policy, then it is MLOP. Civil engineering completed risks insurance. Generally, when the it is completed, project is completed, then it is fire policy can be given, burglary policy can be given. But if there is another package policy, which is CECR policy, just we'll be seeing from the exam point of view, the important points of these policies. Most of the engineering policies, we find the difference is that they are all risk policies. From the name itself, we know contractor all risk. CR policy is called as contractor all risk policy. Erection policy is called as erection all risk policy. So these are the all risk policies. Marine cum erection, erection all risk and marine cum erection. The difference is that marine is combined with the erection. So it becomes marine cum erection. What is the need to give marine cum erection and what is the difference between giving ER separately or marine cum erection? We'll be seeing when we see these policies in detail. Contractor all risk. CPM is contractors, plant and machinery, which is given along with the CR or ER policies. Installed machinery policy. In this group, one of this policy is electronic equipment policy. Limited peril policy we can call boiler and pressure plant. It is in the operation phase policy, but it is boiler and pressure plant policy is a limited peril policy. It is not a all risk policy. Am I audible? Can you hear?
Yes, madam.
Okay.
Yes, madam.
Okay. Boiler and pressure plant, though we are classifying, it is an installed machinery policy, but it is a named policy and it is not a all risk policy. Dependent policies. Some of the covers or the policies are dependent policies. We say, we can understand MLOP. Machinery loss of profit is a dependent cover on the machinery policy. DOS and DOS, again, these policies are dependent on machinery policies. ALOP is again a dependent policy on the machinery policy. It is erection policy, erection or CAR or ER policy. These are not independent policies. These policies are dependent on the main policies, which are like machinery or which is CAR or ER policy. In electronic equipment policy, the section 3, the first section is material damage, then the second section is the data, and third section is the increased cost of working. Though practically while giving electronic equipment policy, we never give the section 3. But from the exam point of view, as we are seeing, the section 3 of electronic equipment policy, which is increased cost of working, we can say this is an dependent cover and not an independent cover. It depends on section 1, that is material damage. It never depends on section 2, that is external data media. If you see the EI policy, first section is material damage, second is external data media, and third is the increased cost of working. So third section of increased cost of working, we can say is a dependent section. These are not independent sections. So this could be a question as to which are independent covers and which are dependent covers. Risk covered under ER policy. Provides comprehensive cover for installation, erection of machinery, equipment from the time of arrival of first consignment. We have to remember this. This is important. Though we say erection all risk policy, the cover starts from the arrival of first consignment and terminates on the completion of erection, testing, commissioning, or when the plant is taken over, whichever occurs first. And also during the maintenance period. Of course, during the maintenance period, if the cover has been opted. So practically when we see when the erection starts, our cover does not start when the construction or the erection work starts. Our cover starts when the part of the equipment, it may come partially transported from some other place to the erection site or the construction site. When the equipment from the time it arrives at the site of erection or construction. So the cover starts from the arrival of first consignment and not when the actual construction or erection starts. And when will the policy terminate? When the testing commissioning is completed and the plant is taken over, whichever occurs first, and also during the maintenance period. Location at this is an all risk policy, but we are trying to see what are the risks, all risk, what is covered. Location risk is fire, lightning, theft, burglary. So everything is covered. During the operations, what is covered when the erection is going on? Leakage of electricity, insulation failure, short circuit, explosion, all these will be covered under the policy. Human risks like carelessness, negligence, fault in erection, riot, strike, malicious damage, RSMD, everything is covered under the policy. Natural calamities, storm, cyclone, landslide, subsidence is also covered under the policy. Accidental external means like accidental falling of objects, impact, thereby the resultant damage of property. From the covers, we will know that erection all risk policy is truly an all risk policy which covers all operational risks, human errors, natural calamities, and external accidental external damages. What should be the sum insured under the policy? Should be aggregate of following items: cost of machinery, landed cost at site, imports or indigenous, cost of erection including supervision and specialist fees, permanent civil engineering works. This is where sometimes we make a mistake in practically also while working and from the exam point of view. Permanent civil work on which the erection will be done also should be added in the sum insured for the erection policy. Though the machinery cost will be different and the permanent civil engineering work on which it is erected, also the foundation part also to be added in the erection sum insured. If the same is not added and only the machinery cost, the invoice cost, sometimes the insured is declaring the invoice, just giving us the copy of the invoice. So if we cover only on the basis of the invoice, the erection policy, then the cost of machinery on all or the equipment cost will only be covered under the policy. The cost of erection and including supervision and specialist fees and the labor and the workman cost will also not get added, and permanent civil engineering work will also not get added. So technically the correct sum insured is to take the cost of the machine, the cost of labor and supervision or specialist fees, and the permanent civil engineering work, that is the foundation on which the machinery is going to be or the plant is going to be erected. Half escalated value if escalation opted for. Sometimes this creates a confusion. Why do we say half escalated value if escalation opted for? What is escalation? We know because yesterday also we have seen escalation is the additional sum insured which insured is opting for with the possibility that the value may increase during the currency of the policy. As of now, the sum insured is the work order or the work in as per the sum insured shown above. But insured expects that with the increasing cost of the labor and machine or sometimes raw material, the value may escalate. And when the insured is opting for escalation, then that escalation sum insured is not in the sum insured today. It is going to be increased throughout the policy period on day-wise basis. So in that case, the premium charged is going to be 50% of the rate charged, or in other words, for the calculation purpose in engineering, the system of calculation is that the escalation value, half of the escalated value is added in the sum insured for the rating purpose. In other words, if you say, if you take the full escalated value, then your rate should be 50% of the rate which is charged for the basic. So the system of calculation is that you add half escalation value in the sum insured, so that you add the sum insured together and once only apply the rate applicable. So that's the one and the same. Under insurance is applicable for ER, extensions. What all extensions we can give under a erection all risk policy? Third party liability risk, surrounding property damage, earthquake and terrorism, CPM, construction, plant and machinery, extra charges for overtime, express freight, etc. and escalation maximum 50%. These will have different rates, like third party will have the same rate, surrounding property will have 50% of the rate. This is the rating part, and that will not be asked. So we are seeing what are the add-ons that are permissible under the ER policy. Period of cover and testing period. Period of insurance as per the insured's requirement, because depends on the work order. It can be extended later if the work is not completed. Testing period will cease with commencement of the commercial production or handing over of the plant, whichever is earlier. Maximum testing period can be 12 months. No fire policy can be issued during testing period for the items covered under storage cum erection policy. So basically the erection all risk policy when issued, fire policy, fire is an inbuilt cover because CR or ER is an all risk policy. Fire is covered, but the construction or erection is not completed. So when any work is not completed, fire policy cannot be issued till it is completed and handed over to the principal. Once it is completed and handed over, then our standard fire policy can be given. Till that time, it must be covered under a erection policy. As erection policy will be a long-term policy. It may not be for 12 months. It will be much more, sometimes for 18 months, 24 months, 36 months. So when there is a long project period, insured will not be able to pay all the premium. So we can give the installment facility. Certainly there will be one question on the installment facility. And this installment facility can be given subject to certain conditions. Installment facility is given in all project policy with period of insurance more than 12 months. So if the project period is 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, then installment facility cannot be given. So first condition, project period more than 12 months. First installment premium must be paid on or before the commencement of the first installment premium must be paid on or before the commencement of the cover. Like for any policy, we are taking the premium before the risk commences. And this first installment premium will be calculated and collected at being 5% higher than the all other equal installments. So this condition says that the first installment should be 5% higher than other equal installments. So rest of the installments may be equal, but the first installment should be higher by 5%. Last installment premium should be paid at least 6 months prior to the expiry of the policy period. So 3 important conditions. One is installment facility cannot be given if the project is for less than 12 months. First installment should be paid before the work commences or the policy starts, like any other policy, which should be 5% higher. All other installments can be equal amount. Last installment must be paid at least 6 months prior to the expiry of the policy period. Remember these 3 conditions which are required for installment facility. Installment computation, you can just go through and remember the terms, because as we know now we are working, we get the installments through the system, or the calculation can be done online. But this is the formula in which N is the capital N is the number of installment. So as there is a condition that last installment should be paid before 6 months, the interval between 2 payments should be minimum 3 months. There is one more condition. We have seen 3 conditions. We can say there should be one more condition, that the gap between the 3 installments should be minimum 3 months. So N capital, how to arrive at number of installments? Because the last one has to be 6 months prior, gap should be more than 3 months, and the first installment should be higher by 5%. So how to calculate? If we have to calculate manually, N capital is the number of installments. P small is the project period. N small is the interval period, whether we want 4 months or 5 months or 6 months. And how to calculate the first installment? Then it is going to be P into 95% divided by N plus P into 5%. This is, you can just understand and know what is the terminology, where capital P is the gross premium. So premium into 95% divided by N and then plus P into 5%, because the first installment should be higher by 5%. Next, N minus 1 installments is equal to P into 95% divided by N. So you can just remember this because we don't have to actually calculate. Okay. Then one example is given. Project period is 25 months. Interval is 3 months. Gross premium is 50 lakhs. Number of installments, that is N is equal to 25 minus 6 divided by 3. That is the interval plus 1. That is equal to 7.333. So every installment will be 7.333. First installment, again 50 lakhs into 95%, then divided by 7 plus the 5%, 50 lakhs into 5%. So this is the amount of first installment. Next installments will be 50 lakhs into 95% divided by 7. That is equal to, so first installment higher will be 9,28,000 and rest all installments will be 678471. So you can just, sometime there was one question, you can just remember what is the N, the P and the small n, what is the terminology used for. Okay. Whether if the project is for 24 months or it is for 36 months, and if it is completed earlier, whether we can give any refund. So refund for early completion of the project can be given. Again, there are some conditions, like for installment facility, how we are saying there are some conditions. Similarly, there are some conditions. Period of insurance, if it is 18 months and above, notice to be given to the insurer before commencement of the testing period. In any case, not later than after the commencement of the testing. So if the period of insurance is more than 18 months and before the testing commences, the intimation must be given for extending the policy period. And in any case, if the testing, by mistake, the testing has started, not later than 7 days of the commencement of the testing. Claim experience should be less than 60%, sorry. Minimum refund period should be 3 months, allowed only after reworking of the premium on the reduced policy period. So if the period of insurance is more than 18 months, notice to be given before the testing commences or maximum within 7 days. Claim experience is less than 60% and minimum refund period is 3 months. So if the project period is 18 months or more and the refund required is only for 1 month, then we will not be giving the refund. Indirectly, it means your refund period should be 3 months or more than that, only then we'll be giving the refund. So the claim experience should not be more. Timely intimation, period of insurance should be more than 18 months. Then how you will give the refund is to recalculate what would have been the premium, because the premium calculation for erection policy, there is a structure of calculating the premium for 1 plus 1 month, then next 9 months. So that way it has to be once again calculated for the reduced period. So if it was 24 months and then the refund is to be given for 3 months, then it becomes 21 months. So once again calculate for 21 months and not proportionately give the refund that 24 months premium is so and so, so refund for 3 months. So it is not any pro rata refund or that way to be calculated like we calculate for all other policies. So conditions is important. What are the conditions for giving refund? 18 months minimum and notice to be given, and 60% claim ratio, then only refund can be given for early completion of the project and premium to be reworked. Add-on covers by paying additional premium. Policy period can be extended. Removal of debris, CPM, third-party liability, owner surrounding property, escalation, earthquake, terrorism. Dismantling cover for second-hand machinery. Again important, if the second-hand machinery which is to be re-erected at another place, another factory, or some other place, or for some reason within the factory also, then first it has to be dismantled. So whether we can give cover, we can give cover for second-hand machinery which first needs to be dismantled, and also cover for re-erection. But it will be a second-hand machinery to be rated accordingly. Now, premium, in the premium rates, testing period for 1 month is covered in the basic premium. Rate charged for SCE, that is storage cum erection, because we call it as ER, or it's the same that we call it as storage cum erection, because the all risk also covers storage at the erection site. Rate charged for SCE is charged for TPL. Escalation 50% is considered for rating. That is, we have seen. Surrounding property, 50% of the storage cum erection rate is to be charged. If the machinery is a mix of old and new, like there is a plant to be erected where there are some machineries which are old and some new, 50% of the rate applicable for new machinery is to be charged. And additional rate for dismantling is 60% of the storage cum erection rate, irrespective of period of dismantling. So for dismantling, what rate you would have charged for the erection of that particular plant or the machinery, 60% of the premium will be charged additionally for dismantling. So there is dismantling and re-erection. So 60% premium will be charged for dismantling, and then again for erecting, premium to be charged. In some of the add-on covers, 50-50 clause does not require any premium. 72 hours clause, automatic reinstatement clause, loss minimization expenses. There are some new add-ons coming, but for the exam purpose, concentrate on only those add-ons which are given in the tariff. What is the 50-50 clause? Where it is not possible to establish whether the damage was caused before or after the arrival of the consignment, loss will be shared equally by marine and ER insurance. 50-50% clause. Now, first the consignment comes to the site and then the erection will start. When the machinery comes to the site, sometimes it will come in pieces. It will not come as an entire machine. It will come in the dismantled condition. Then the cover for ER policy will start from the storage of the first consignment coming to the site. So when the first consignment comes to the site, erection will not start immediately. There will be a gap in the erection. So that period, the storage risk, all risk is there at the storage also. Hence, while practically also while issuing policy, we have to be very careful when we are issuing the policy in what flood season. When the consignment will come to the site, but the work will not start, then the flood risk will always be there. Flood, storm risk, if the consignment is lying at the site and the work is not commencing. Our risk is there because ER policy covers storage cum erection. Now, when the consignment comes to the site, that risk in transit is not covered under erection policy. That has to be covered under a marine policy. So when it is covered under marine policy, there could be some damages. However, that damage is not noticed, or intentionally also the machinery part or machinery is unloaded at the site. And the damage is noticed not when it is unloaded, only when the work commences and that part is being installed or erected. Only at that time the damage is noticed in the erection. Then it cannot be properly established whether the damage took place while in transit or in the site at the storage, then when cannot be established, then it is to be shared equally by marine and EAR insurers. 72 hours clause, we know, we've seen yesterday also, in case of perils like storm, tempest, flood, or earthquake, there could be more tremors or incidences one after the other. So 72 hours is to be treated as one event. After 72 hours will be treated as second event, and especially this affects when we apply excess at the claim. So if at all there is some question, a small question on the claim part, you have to see whether there is something mentioned about the 72 hours. If it is within 72 hours, it is one event. Beyond 72 hours, again earthquake, especially happens in earthquake and in storm also, that beyond 72 hours, if it goes, it will be treated as a fresh event. Automatic reinstatement clause, by paying extra premium, the insured amount always remains the same. Loss minimization expenses, by paying some extra premium, or it can be given free also to some extent. The loss minimization expenses, and expenses incurred to minimize the loss. So expenses incurred, if it is less than, like you are spending 5,000 to save 50,000, it's a loss minimization expense. If 50,000 is spent to save 5,000, that's not a loss minimization expense. Professional fees, fees of architects, surveyors, other professionals incurred in reinstating the property, but not for preparing any claim. This explanation is there everywhere in fire or in engineering, that when we talk of architect surveyor's fees, that word surveyor should not be confused, that surveyor fees anyway is related to our surveyor who is doing the survey. It has nothing to do with that. It is for expenses which insured will be incurring for reinstating the property and not for preparation of any claim. Cover for offsite storage or fabrication can be given as an add-on cover. TPL can be given. Cross liability, third-party liability cover in respect of parties named in the schedule shall apply as if a separate policy has been issued to each party. Cross liability is a sort of extension of TPL cover only. When there is a TPL cover, it is known as third party liability cover. But in case of erection and also in case of construction, there could be more parties involved. And when there is a claim against more than one person, and in such cases, each claim will be treated separately. And so this cross liability is over and above the TPL liability. It is a third party liability, but where then one person, one party in the policy or in the project is involved, then the cross liability comes. Waiver of contribution, all these add-ons can be given. Escalation, waiver of subrogation, expediting cost in the event of loss, cost incurred like overtime, transportation, safeguarding, preserving up to the sublimits, extended maintenance cover, continuity of cover for unit which is tested but awaiting integral testing. So generally we say, in the beginning we have seen, once the testing is completed, then our policy will cease. But if there are two tests, like there is some integral testing, so insured wants to continue, then it's a continuity of cover. DE 1, 2, 3, 4. We are seeing when most of the proposals come, insured is asking for DE 2, 3, 4, these covers. So we will see from the exam what we understand by DE 1, 2, 3 or 4. Design defect cover. DE cover is known as design defect cover. This is an illustration to understand what is DE 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. An RCC column fails because its inner steel supporting rod, the faulty part, is defective in design or material. The roof collapses, causing extensive damages to an expensive floor. Under these circumstances, if we say there is a rod, there is a column, there is a roof, and there is a floor, 4 parts. There is a defect in the rod. Rod is covered by a column.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Sorry?
Ma'am, what does this column means? RCC column means what?
Yes. RCC column, pillar.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Okay, like you can call it a pillar also. Like how a pillar
Okay.
is there, column is a pillar. Okay,
Got
there
it,
is a
ma'am.
rod
Got it.
inside a pillar, you can say. Okay, called as column in construction terminology. Okay, there is a rod within. That rod is inside a column or inside a pillar, you can say. The roof is supported by this pillar. So because there is a defect in the rod, the column, or as you say, you're saying pillar is damaged. Because of that, the roof collapses. So there will be damage to the floor below. Now, if this is the situation, then the main defect is in the rod. Because of the rod, the column is getting damaged. Because of the column, the roof is getting damaged. And because the roof is damaged, it is leading to damage to the expensive floor. Now, if all this happens, then what is covered under DE 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? DE1, actually DE1, though given in the tariff, DE1 is not a coverage at all. Excludes all damages due to design defect. We can say DE1 is a clause. It says outright defect exclusion. So DE1 does not cover anything. It excludes everything. Okay. What is DE2? Covers the floor. So we start from the floor. Floor is the last one to get damaged. It is not the cause. It is the result. The last result is the floor, because it starts from the rod to column, column to roof, and then the floor. So covers the floor, which is the last damage, but does not cover the roof of the column. This is known as extended defective condition exclusion. So what is covered? Only the floor. DE3 covers the floor and the roof, but does not cover the column, or as you are saying, the pillar, the column. Limited defective condition exclusion, DE3. Now DE4, still wider cover, covers the floor, the roof, the column, but does not cover the supporting rod itself. This is the defective part exclusion. So DE4 excludes the defective part, but covers everything other than the defective part. Defective part is excluded, but what all is the result of the defective part? That is the column, then the roof, and then the floor. Everything is covered. Now DE5 covers everything but does not cover a different type of supporting rod to be used in repairs. So it is a design improvement exclusion. So if there is a same type of rod which is fixed, then it is covered. But any improvement in the rod, generally when there is a defect due to a rod, it will be replaced by improved type of a rod. So design improvement exclusion. If there is no design improvement, then it will be covered. So in simple words, the 1 does not cover anything. 2 covers the least connected part, that is the floor. 3 will cover the floor and the second, that is the roof. 4 will cover the floor, the roof, and the column. And then the rod will also be covered in 4, but the supporting rod is excluded in DE4. Supporting rod is also covered in DE5, but it will not cover a improved rod. So I think it's a very simple. When you see from this example, you can draw a picture showing a rod, then a column, then there is a roof on top, and there is a floor. First, nothing covered is DE1, floor covered is DE2, roof covered is DE3. Even the rod is covered, rod on X column is covered is 4. Rod is covered. If you want to cover the rod also, then it is DE5. So generally we see that DE4 and 5, we are very cautious in giving. We give only up to DE2 and DE3. DE4 and DE5 increases our risk, very high risk. So increases our liability, but DE3 is quite, you're covering what is not connected to the defect. What is defect? That is covered under DE4 and 5.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, D5 in which you are telling that it is not covered any improvement in the rod or used in repair, the supporting rod. If we are using a better design, so it's kind of like we are preventing the loss, na, which could happen in future. Then why it is not covered? I could not understand that.
Yes, then no, see, then this is because the loss has taken place. Okay, because there is a possibility of loss. We don't know what that rod. No, see, you are not, it is improvement exclusion because you are loss will take place and then that improvement is there. No, if that improvement is there from before, if there is improvement from before, then it would not have led to a cover. If you are covering DE5 also, you will have to pay all the loss plus the rod. You understand? You are paying higher than what was there. See, you understand, you have covered a rod. You have covered a rod which costed, yes, it is, in other words, you can say you are paying more than what you have covered. You understand, what you have covered is an old rod. You are not covering that. You are covered, which is an improved, which is, you are not covered under the policy. It goes against the principle, but then from the, like, if you are trying to understand, there is an explanation saying that that improved rod was not covered under the policy. So by charging higher premium, you mean to say, why not cover a better rod, right? But this is the definition. Then even if you remember the definition, that is more than sufficient for the exam. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Exclusions: faulty design, defective material, bad workmanship, rectification of defects, manufacturer's guarantee, willful act. See, exclusions are very important in the engineering policies, especially which are all risk policies, because all risk policies cover everything except the exclusions. You will see fire policy will have so many exclusions, and in erection or CR policies you will have very less exclusions, but they are very crucial. Now we are saying human error is covered, but we are saying faulty design is not covered, defective material is not covered, bad workmanship is not covered, rectification of defects is not covered, manufacturer's guarantee is not covered, and willful will always be excluded, right? However, the damages resulting
Ma'am,
from,
excuse me.
yes,
Ma'am, you're saying exclusions. We have faulty design excluded. In the previous slide, that D5 was covering the faulty design as well.
yes, see, why we are saying faulty design is excluded? Because you are going to give D2, 3, 4 as an add-on cover. When we talk of exclusions, we talk of exclusions without considering the add-on covers, right? You understand the difference?
Okay, ma'am.
Basically, if you are not giving DV 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, one is not given at all. One is an exclusion basically. If you are not giving any add-on, then is the faulty design covered?
No.
Yeah, it's all basically we have to see exclusions as exclusions. Then add-ons only will cover some part of exclusions.
Okay.
So even when you say bad workmanship, then if there is something defect happening to something, not from some another part of the project, that will again get connected. Bad workmanship part which leads to defect will not be covered. But like how we say in fire also, that if it results into damage to some part, other part, then it will get covered. Right? The bad workmanship will not be covered. But that resulting a damage to some other part of the project will still get covered.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Willful negligence, consequential loss, penalties, delay, lack of performance, and loss of contract. It is a good thing you asked, because I think all those who are listening have to remember that you will find sometimes get confused as to something is appearing in exclusions and something is covering in add-ons. So when you are trying to understand the add-ons, don't get confused with the exclusions, because add-ons will always get repeated in exclusions. Willful negligence, consequential loss, penalties, delay, lack of performance, loss of contract. Now, CCPP is combined cycle power plant. Okay, will not go much into detail, but just this full form of CCPP was sometimes asked, and then we don't know what it is. For gas turbine power station, prescribed excess shall apply differently than other erection policies. For a combined cycle power plant, excess applicable for gas turbine section shall be the existing excess prescribed. However, for steam section, the excess applicable shall be as per steam power plant. So what we are trying to say here, this is a combined power plant. So in combined power plant, 2 excess will apply. One to the as per gas turbine section and one as per steam section as per the steam power plant. So 2 excesses will be applied to a combined power plant, combined cycle power plant, which has 2 parts. Hot and cold testing. Generally, at least not every year, but every alternate year, at least this question is asked. The reason is we get confused with the name that hot and cold. So we think what must be the answer. So hot and cold has nothing to do with the temperature. So cold testing, functional testing is checking the parts and elements of the insured party by mechanical, electric, hydrostatic or other forms of testing under no load condition. And operational, hot testing is operational, and commissioning is checking of parts, elements, production line of under full or partial load condition. Cold testing without no load, hot testing is with full or partial load condition. Now, while we have sometimes mentioned that erection policy is called as erection policy, storage cum erection policy, and there can be a marine cum erection policy. What is a marine cum erection policy? Combining marine transit insurance along with the EAR policy. This is a good option as against a separate marine and a separate erection, or having a EAR policy but not knowing about the marine cover, whether it is there or not there. Having a marine cover is a better. Having a marine cover combined with erection is a much better option. Traditionally, 2 separate covers are given. By combining the 2 covers, advantages of uninterrupted comprehensive cover is given. Offloading at ports, storage at bonded warehouse, transporters go down can be covered, because when the consignment comes in marine and then comes at the site, we don't know how much it has traveled and what is the any damages which has taken place. As we have already seen, 50-50 clause will get applicable there. But if we have the marine policy with us and the warehouse to warehouse cover is given, or warehouse to or factory site to the erection site cover is given for the total erection cost of the machinery in various transits, then we have the premium of marine also, we have the premium of erection also. Then in which case both risk is our, so there will not be much confusion as to whether it falls in marine policy or erection. Wherever it falls, we can cover. So this is a better combination to have marine cum erection policy. Inland transit can be given up to erection site, including transshipment, intermediate storage, and unloading, storage, handling at the erection site will get covered, because marine we can cover up to entire consignment is unloaded. We are covering. So our all unloading risk will get covered. Otherwise, if we don't have marine policy, but only erection policy, then any damage at the time of unloading, whose liability it is, will not be clear on whether it is falling on the marine policy. If it is unloaded at the site by the insured person, then the transporter also will not take the liability. So it is better to have a better combination having marine and erection by one same insurer. Marine cum erection continued. In case of two separate policies, inspection at port will be required. Like if somebody is covering only from port and not from the factory, we know what all problems we are facing with the marine. What all our inspection is required when we are giving a policy which has already covered a part of transit. Inspection will be required. Cost is also an issue. In case of any damages observed during erection, difficult to ascertain liability if there are two separate policies. And if two insurers are separate, then who will take the liability will be difficult job of the surveyor also. Need for additional policies can be eliminated in case of imports where cover of supplier is still in the Indian port. Sometimes supplier, when it is imported, some parts are imported, supplier may cover up to port. Then insured is trying to cover from the port to the destination, that is erection site. Custom duty also may not be covered or covered. So this all will be problems will be solved if we have a single cover or insured taking both policies. Competitive premium can be given because in addition to erection, we are also getting some marine premium for the same machinery cost, which will be a good premium and can be given at a competitive rate. So these are the advantages and differences of having a separate erection and a marine cum erection policy. Now we see CAR, that is contractor all risk policy. Much of the covers and exclusions are same for CAR and EAR. This is all risk project policy, always issued for civil engineering projects, like at least 50%. If there is a combination of CR and ER, that is machinery being erected or plant being erected, 50%, more than 50%, it is a civil CAR. Like constructing of residential complexes, bridges, the following items can be covered. Civil works, contractors, again CPM can be covered under CAR also, ER also. Cost of removal of debris can be covered also in CAR or in ER. Third party liability can be covered under third party injury, property damage, or any fatal damages in relation to the project. Insured's own surrounding property also can be covered as an add-on cover. What should be the sum insured for contractor all risk policy? Material damage, estimated completely erected value, including material, wages, supervision, freight, custom, and material supplied by principal. This is one important part. Some of the CAR projects, the material is some part of the material may be supplied by the principal himself, and some part may be supplied by the contractor. So when the work order is given, the material cost will be what is going to be supplied by the contractor, plus the labor will be everything, including the labor required for the parts supplied by the principal. Sometimes the principal wants that some parts principal wants to supply. So this can also happen in erection, that something that is going to be erected, some only few part of the machinery or few machinery for any reason, because either the principal is manufacturing or principal wants to get a quality product from some other manufacturer and doesn't want to depend on the contractor. Reasons may be various. Some part may be purchased by the principal and given to the contractor. However, the supervision cost, labor cost will be of the contractor. So in the policy, though it is called as contractor all risk, he can cover or he should cover the part or the material which is supplied by the principal also. That cost to be included, because whenever there is going to be any claim, if at all there is a claim, the value will include what is supplied by principal. That cannot be separated when it is already constructed or already erected. You cannot separate it. And some part which has been supplied by the principal could be a cause of loss. So not adding in the sum insured will create a problem at the time of claim. So correct sum insured calculation is material damage sum insured should include the principal's part and the contractor's himself part also. Because this confusion is sometimes there. If it is a contractor all risk, then why to add the part which is supplied or the portion material which is supplied by the principal to be added in the sum insured. CPM can be covered at the new replacement value. However, CPM has to be always covered at new replacement value. Whether we are covering under CAR or EAR, or we are covering CPM as a separate policy. In all the engineering policies, value to be covered of the machinery is always at the new replacement value and not at the depreciated value. TPL, limit to be selected. TPL, there is nothing fixed. The rate will be charged on the limit selected by the insured. Under insurance is applicable. After the claim, the sum insured is to be reinstated for all engineering policies. In fire, we say SFSP that there is an option of market value or sum insured. There is no such option in engineering policies. All engineering policies, CR, ER, or even always CPM, machinery, always the sum insured is to be reinstated, and always the policies have to be on reinstatement value only. Now there is a maintenance cover, but mostly in all the policies, extended maintenance cover is taken under the policies, especially if the project is a big project. Very small policies, sometimes insured will not go for maintenance cover. Separate premium is charged for maintenance cover. It is not an inbuilt cover. Though this is an all risk policy, maintenance cover is not inbuilt. Maintenance cover does not fall within the contract period. It is over and above the contract period. Insured has to specify what is the maintenance period required as per the contract. So work period is different, maintenance period is different. So maintenance period is opted by the insured. Now there are two. One is visit maintenance cover and second is extended maintenance cover. In all the policies, what we are giving is extended maintenance cover and not the visit maintenance cover. However, for the exam purpose, we should know what is the difference in visits maintenance cover, or in other words known as limited maintenance cover, and what is known as extended maintenance cover. Visits maintenance cover or known as limited maintenance cover. Basically, why is maintenance cover required is once the contractor completes the construction or the erection, then for some period the principal will want that the contractor should do the maintenance, so that if there is should maintain the project for some period. Okay, this is a contract requirement. And limited maintenance cover is so this obligation is the obligation in the contract to complete that obligation when the contractor has a maintenance cover. Just keeping a watch, visiting, and any damage taking place after the plant is completed, but just maintaining it and seeing that any damage takes place, the contractor is responsible till that maintenance period. If the maintenance period is 6 months, then till 6 months, if any damage takes place during the maintenance activity, then the contractor is liable. So he will do the maintenance work and then hand over the project. But in the maintenance period, what happens is the contract is completed, project is erected or completed, and if there is no maintenance period, there is some defect in the construction, and that loss takes place not during the construction, but only after the construction is completed. And that result is seen when result is seen in the maintenance period. Now the cause of loss is not happening in the maintenance period, but the cause is actually the work done in the construction period. That is the difference between the visit maintenance is the loss which takes place in the maintenance period during the obligation of maintenance or work of maintenance. But in the extended maintenance period, there is a loss taking place for which the cause is not the maintenance activity, but the cause is some work which was done during the construction or the erection, but the result is seen little later in the maintenance period, which is known as extended maintenance, in addition to the above. So the first maintenance cover, limited maintenance cover, is the first part, and the second is the extended part. In addition to the above, extended maintenance cover also provides for loss or damage occurring during the maintenance period, provided such loss or damage was caused on the site during the construction period. So the construction period defect resulting into loss in the extended maintenance period will be covered in the extended maintenance period. If this result happens after the extended maintenance period, then it will not be covered under our ER or the maintenance period. Hence, every insured is generally opting for an extended maintenance period, because some defects could be there in the construction or the erection, which does not give an immediate effect, but it gives maybe after a few months, which will be seen only in the extended maintenance period. Civil works, what all civil works are covered? This we know, but just repetition. It can be residence or factory or warehouse, bridges, roads, dams, hospital, everything that is a civil work is covered under CAR policy. Risk covered is all risk: fire, lightning, riot strike, malicious damage, bad workmanship, burglary, theft, external, accidental, external means. Everything is covered.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, and this bad workmanship is covered?
Yes, you will find that bad workmanship is covered and excluded. Okay. Now, why bad workmanship is covered and excluded is bad workmanship, as I repeated that time also, that bad workmanship part will be excluded, but bad workmanship will result into a bigger loss in the project, which will be covered.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So, civil works. So, supplementary covers can be damage to the existing property. What is the existing property? That there is an add-on of cover of surrounding property, insured existing surrounding property. So when there is a construction going on or erection going on, insured could have some of his property near about. When there is a sugar factory, now there is a sugar factory, but distillery plant he is erecting, maybe a few, it could be some far away, or it could be some near the project, few feet away. So when the construction is going on or erection is going on, due to some like explosion or some loss that is taking place during the erection, because it's an all risk policy, it could cause damage to the existing, it is existing, okay, existing property of the insured. So these are supplementary covers, add-on covers. Okay, CPM, removal of debris, additional expenses of overtime can be taken as an add-on, custom duty, legal liability to third party, escalation, and temporary works. What happens is erection or construction is a long-term work. And during that time, sometimes insured also has to construct a road to going to that, because that erection may be at a remote place. And as of now, there is no road. So there has to be a temporary shed or a small building for keeping the stock of the material. So some temporary work has to be constructed, some road has to be constructed, some shed has to be constructed, and that he will incur some expenses. So that also can be covered as an add-on.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, regarding that bad workmanship, uh, as it is written, and you also said that it will be covered, but except the part for which the bad workmanship happened, right?
Yes.
But aren't we differing from the proximate cause clause because of this? Because then bad workmanship is resulting into a bigger loss, and then ultimately, what is the proximate cause of that is the bad workmanship. So
Yes,
aren't
because
we
of
differing
that.
or
No, because
deviating
of
from the
that, it is
proximate cause?
appearing in exclusion.
Okay.
Okay. That's why it is specifically given in exclusion. CR and ER policies, there is all risk policy. So you have to see what is excluded. Bad workmanship, why we are saying it is excluded? Bad workmanship part and the cost of that loss will be excluded from the policy. It results into a loss that is covered. So bad workmanship is an exclusion also, and it is a cover for not. It's not possible to elaborate the add-ons or the exclusions in the presentation, right? So
Correct.
if you take the tariff and you read the explanation, you will know that bad workmanship has resulted into a bigger loss to a not actually the where the cause is there. So that cause will be excluded, that part will be excluded, which has, but that has resulted into some where there was some good work, but has. So it is not possible to elaborate. If you need, you can just see the more explanation of these add-ons or exclusions. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes. Again, here see faulty design, loss or damage due to faulty design, then we cannot cover because the contractor is responsible for the design. Then the design is there due to the faulty design itself, then that will not be covered. We cannot say that faulty design is there, then something else can be covered. You see the difference between bad workmanship is covered and excluded, but faulty design we cannot say it is covered also and it is excluded also. It is a exclusion only. Due to wear and tear, deterioration, due to atmospheric condition, all covered. It is excluded. Wear and tear and deterioration will always be excluded. Surface or breakage of glass. So generally, glass is also not covered. If you see the claim part or exclusion, glass is not covered under the glass parts will not be covered under the CR or ER policies. If you want to cover, then you will have to specifically mention some extra premium and then to be covered. Inventory losses, because we are covering burglary, inventory losses is excluded. War SRCC is excluded due to nuclear reaction. This is willful, will always be excluded. Cost of repairs, replacement or rectification of the defective material.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Sorry to disturb you once again. Can we
Yes.
say that faulty design is resulting out of a bad workmanship again?
No. Faulty design is made
These two
before
are
you start
completely
the
exclusive,
project.
right? These two
Faulty
are completely.
design. No. Faulty design is what design you make on the paper. It cannot result workmanship while making a project like you have given to an architect. That is not what we are talking about. Bad workmanship. Bad workmanship we are talking. Focus on our policy. What happened before the policy is not a bad workmanship.
Okay, so workmanship is exclusively for the execution of the part, and
Yes,
faulty design is into the
while
planning
doing
part.
the work.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you.
Cost of repairs, replacement or rectification of the defective material. However, this exclusion will not be applicable to loss or damage to correctly executed items. Okay, so cost of repair, replacement or rectification of the defective material. You find that there is some defective material and then trying to repair it. Okay, repair it, that cost we are not going to pay. No, he has realized there is some defective material and then trying to rectify it. why that cost will not be covered under the policy. Okay. Now, cost necessary for correcting of any error. There is error, you are trying to correct it. That expenses of error will not be payable. No, you realize there is an error and the contractor is trying to correct the error, which will prevent further losses. But that does not mean that the cost of correcting of all these any defects will not be payable. If he is correcting the defect, that will help in future properly erection or construction. Loss or damage to vehicles, because vehicles are always excluded from any policy, because vehicles have to be covered under a motor policy. Only CPM, which is not covered under a motor, will get covered under CAR or ER policy. At the site only. Packing material, right, crates, boxes, cases are not covered. Adjustment of sum insured. Sum insured is adjustable at the end of the policy period or construction on the basis of actual values declared by the insured. It may happen that as per the work order, insured has taken some sum insured and has taken sometimes over and above, because freight, handling charges, custom duty, these are not actually cannot be ascertained at the beginning. They may fluctuate. Now, contract price or the supervision and that cost may be decided, fixed. But the custom duty, freight charges, handling charges may differ, which the insured may add as per his some calculation. Now, whether this adjustment of sum insured is possible at the end of the policy period? Yes, it is can be adjusted. However, any increase or decrease in the prime cost of material is not subject to premium adjustment. If the cost of material has increased, he can increase the sum insured and pay the premium if the work order is changed later and it is increased. Then we will go strictly by the work order. And the additional values which insured is declaring, that is subject to adjustment. So this last part which is there, which is specifically coming in the exam, whether adjustment of sum insured is possible and can you adjust the prime cost of material can be subject to adjustment. Prime cost of material is not subject to premium adjustment. Major hazards in CR, underground risk. What is the risk associated with? You can also understand with our commonly experience, but just go through. Underground risk. What will be if there is a project underground? What are the risks associated? Just should be able to differentiate. Collapse and flooding. Flood risk will be more in underground. Pipeline construction, excavation, welding, testing, flooding. Tunnels, collapse, flood, rock burst, rock fall, ignition of underground gas pockets, third-party risk. Road construction, flash flooding, water and frost damage. In case of road construction, mostly there are damages or we are facing problems and claims because of the flood. Bridges, third-party liability. So where third-party liability is more, it is more in bridges, because while work is in progress, there could be third-party liability. Just this is something that we can understand, but just repeating it. In case of machinery policy,
Madam, sorry to interrupt you in between. Hello. Ma'am, are you
Yes.
able to hear?
Yes, I am able to hear.
Ma'am, regarding that CR policy, in exclusions, we are saying that design defect is not covered. But then if this design defect, it's clauses that D1, D2, D3, that can be given.
That can be given as add-on.
As add-on covers. So again, it is same thing like it, though faulty design is not covered, but if extensions this D1, D2, D3 is given, then it is kind of a thing that is covered.
Yes, that is correct what you are saying. If it is given only, then it is covered.
Okay.
Okay, you have to connect everything. If you are not giving, then nothing will be covered. But by giving also, what is covered? So DE 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, read carefully. They are more of giving but excluding, giving but excluding. More stress is given on, even if you give as an add-on cover, still what is excluded. So once we are saying it is excluded, then we are saying it can be covered. But that does not mean when we are saying covered, everything is covered. We are again saying it can be covered with add-on. Even if add-on is covered, again something is excluded, right?
Okay, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, one thing.
Yes.
Hello. Regarding marine cum erection, there is an installment premium is there.
Marine cum erection. Erection part there can be installment. Marine there cannot be installment.
Marine also including, you know, premium.
No. Though marine is included, it is as good as two separate policies. Marine premium will be shown separately. Marine sum insured will be shown separately. Your marine risk is separate. Is marine risk same as erection risk? No. Even if you are combining, your marine perils are separate. Your erection perils are separate. Erection is an engineering policy. So though you are combining, there are advantages of combining because the gap in the two policies gets reduced. The confusion gets reduced as to whether it is falling in this policy or this policy. But your perils for marine and erection don't get mixed up because you are giving marine cum erection.
Okay.
Perils are different.
Two policies we have to issue, no?
See, there are some your software related in different companies, whether you are issuing a MC marine cum erection document or you are issuing two documents of marine and erection. Okay.
Right.
If you have a marine cum erection document itself generated, okay, still your marine cover applies as a marine perils. A policy you have given or you have given B policy, you will give A policy, right? Because marine machinery is new. So we cannot forget what is covered under marine because you are giving a marine cum erection. Your marine terms and you are giving a policy. Your marine has some exclusions inherent wise, and what all are your exclusions under marine that will still apply. Okay. There are advantages of giving a marine, and you are going to charge a separate premium also for marine. Whether you charge half paisa or 1 paisa, you have to still charge for that sum insured. The premium is separate, your sum insured is separate, your clauses are separate, your perils are separate. What are your advantages of having a combined cover? There is no gap in the cover, right?
Here we have to give installment.
Your installment will be only for installment, that for erection portion.
Right. Thank you.
Yes. Especially if you are going out of the way and giving for marine, but that will not happen because your marine will require for 64 VB compliance, you will require premium whole at the beginning. If it gets increased, you charge another again premium. But if the whatever is the sum insured, premium will have to be charged fully for the marine portion. Okay. If you have an open policy, it is as good as installment, no? Like if you have in CD, you are using. But terms of marine will only apply. Installment facility, as we have told for an erection policy, will not apply to marine policy.
That open policy we have to take for the entire.
You can take open policy. You'll have to take separate, right?
Right. Okay.
If you want to give some benefit to your customer, you have the way out of giving a, because it will not, all material will not go at one time, no?
Yeah.
Then it will not be a marine cum erection policy, but single document if you are giving, all these you will have to combine. But as we are talking of the installment as an add-on cover or as an facility, not an add-on cover, under erection now will not apply to marine portion. Okay, good question. This may come in the exam. Property covered for machinery insurance policy. Property covered all electrical, non-electrical, mechanical, chemical items like electric motors, transformers, we are aware. Scope of cover, again, sudden accidental loss due to vibration, maladjustment, falling, impact, collision, obstruction, entry of foreign bodies, etc. So machinery insurance policy covers all risk against accidental loss or damage which results into a mechanical or electrical breakdown, results into a breakdown of the machine, which also could be due to falling, impact, or collision. Scope of cover: losses from unforeseen sudden damage to the machinery from causes like faulty material, design, construction, erection, vibration, malalignment, defective lubrication. Again, defective lubrication will be covered, but cost of lubrication. Question है?
DGC oil is excluded. Na?
Sorry?
Defective lubrication is not told. Na?
Yes,
That
I
oil
said
is
defective
excluded.
lubrication. Cause is the defective lubrication, then the machine gets damaged, right? It's covered. But there could be a question. Cost of lubrication?
Not covered.
Not covered.
Not covered.
Yes.
Not covered.
Failure of insulation? Cost of insulation not covered. Because you will see that in most of the engineering policies, you will have to simultaneously see that the limited life parts are not covered.
Yes.
So that will not get covered. Okay, somebody has asked, I think, where surrounding property, fire and engineering both overlaps, then which will trigger first? But fire policy will cover the surrounding property, okay, against fire and allied perils. Now, surrounding property of the insured covered under the ER policy. In such case, if there is a erection policy, it will trigger first. Why? Because the surrounding property is of the insured and erection is also of the insured. For fire policy, for the property to be covered under a fire policy, what is the definition? Fire must come from outside source, and here the work is also of the insured. It is not a third party, right? It is the work of the insured himself. So, insured surrounding property, if covered under erection policy, then it will come first under the engineering policy and then under the fire policy. But for the fire policy, it should fall under fire and allied perils also. Whereas if you, as you are covering under the surrounding property, loss could be during various reasons and not only fire, right? Fire policy perils don't cover everything that is covered under engineering policy. Fire policy will cover fire, flood, and when if you say due to flood, does it have any correction to the erection policy? Erection policy, when you are covering surrounding property, that surrounding property has to be damaged from the work resulting from the erection. For the property, all risk is covered. But for the surrounding property, the work done during erection or construction, if it results into a damage to the surrounding property, it is covered. If there is a flood and that is in the surrounding property, then the fire policy will operate. Understand the difference? The surrounding property perils will not be as much as the fire policy. Perils are different. When you are covering surrounding property, if there is an explosion and there is a fire, which results into damage to the surrounding property, right? Then it is coming under your erection policy. And if that fire is an external fire to your surrounding property, then only it will fall under both policies. Then it is because it is covered as a surrounding property under erection, then it will fall under this. But when there are various causes, because of which your surrounding property can get damaged, if it is covered under fire policy, only then it will be covered. Like if he has another sugar factory, That is the surrounding property of the insured. Sewer practice already covered for fire. Then that fire, if it is independent of the construction work or erection work, then the fire policy will operate. Perils are entirely different. Resulting from the construction work will fall under the erection policy.
There is a discount in premium also, I think so. In EAR.
There is discounting premium for erection. No, it's very cheap.
Yeah.
Yes. But not all causes get covered, no, under your fire,
Yes.
your erection policy. If
Yes.
there is a flood damage to the sugar industry and you are covering it as a surrounding property, then that flood damage is not resulting out of your erection work. How it will be covered? So you have to have a fire policy for what is completely erected and started plant working already. Okay. Now your machinery, whether it can be covered only when it is working? No, it can be covered when it is working, when it is at rest, when it is being dismantled for cleaning and overhauling, during cleaning and overhauling operation also, when being shifted within the premises also, and during subsequent erection also. So machinery can be covered. It is not only when it is in operation, also when it is in rest, it may be shifted, or a peculiar situation is your machinery is there and something falls on the machinery. So we cannot have a condition that machinery should get damaged only when it is working. Of course, most of our machinery claims come when the machinery is working and it gets damaged due to short circuiting or heating. And then when it gets damaged, we say that this is not falling under fire policy, but it is falling under machinery policy. But machinery can also get damaged when it is not working. When it is being dismantled, it is being cleaned, it is being overhauling, and during and cleaning and overhauling operation also something can happen. And when it is simply resting, not doing anything. But there can be some other work because of some crane is doing some other work, lifting some other machine. That machine falls on a machine, then that machine is covered. Okay, when it is being shifted due to falling, it may fall. So during subsequent erection. Here there is one condition, maybe it is repeated somewhere, that during cleaning and overhauling, we say machine is covered for any damages. But if during the overhauling operation, when it is not working, cover should not start. You should not give a policy when machine is being overhauling. You should give a policy when it is in working condition. If it is already dismantled for cleaning and overhauling purpose, then that dismantling work machine we should not cover for machinery insurance. While covering, it should be in a good condition, in a working condition. In the policy period, because of it is required that machine should be cleaned and overhauled at regular intervals. That interval may fall within the policy period. So overhauling and cleaning operation, machine gets damaged, then it is covered. But your policy should not start when it is in overhauling operation. What are the hazards associated? Just in brief: boilers, explosion, pressure plant, internal pressure, steam turbines, catastrophic risk due to speed and weight of the revolving parts, centrifugal force, steam and gas, these engines due to overheating. Because of these reasons only, there is overhauling and cleaning and resting required. And that period, when it falls within the policy period, it is covered. Transmission lines, windstorm, material handling machinery, mechanical, electrical breakdown, we know this, pumps, while like bearings, malalignment, okay. Refrigerating air, these are just examples of what all can, just generally risk which happen differently for different machines. Okay. Just examples. We can just go through. Power plants, what are the hazards associated with power plants? Every plant or every machine will have different hazards associated with them. How premium rates are charged? There are 4 different sets of machinery policy in the tariff: mechanical items, electrical items, machinery in cold storage, and fertilizer plant. You will not be expected to know the rates. because as it is, we can give discount and there is de-tariffing. But 4 sets of rates are there. And what are the 4 sets in the machinery tariff? Mechanical, electrical, cold storage, and fertilizers or petrochemical plants and refineries. Policy should not be issued if MB proposal received in the overhauling period, either on short period basis or annual basis. When we see things independently, short period policy can be issued, overhauling is covered. So a insured might come to take a policy in the overhauling period, and that also for a short period. Then you will say overhauling risk is covered. But when you connect it, we cannot give a policy when it is in the only required in the overhauling period. Various extensions which will require damage to the foundation of the machinery. This mistake is generally done. Machinery, we cover only machinery without covering the foundation. If foundation is covered, obviously value of foundation is going to be more than the machinery over and above. So that part has to be added and then premium charge, then only it will get covered. Some insured should include express freight, air freight, custom duty. We have seen it is applying in all policies. If we don't add, then it will not be payable. If it added, then only payable. Exclusions. Fire and allied perils is an exclusion under machinery policy. Machinery policy is covering all unforeseen losses from unforeseen sudden damage to the machinery from various causes. It does not cover fire. Now, machinery, fire and allied peril. So, if there is a machinery, there is an external fire, not covered. It has to be covered as contents and plant and machinery under a fire policy. Covered, but under a fire policy. Internal fire due to electrical fault in the electrical equipments is covered. So we say fire is not covered, but when there is internal fire, it is covered because that is what falls under MB policy, not falling under fire policy. Explosion due to centrifugal force is covered. War and allied perils is an exclusion. Nuclear risk exclusion. Experiments or overload or similar tests, if insured is conducting, it is not covered. Gradually developing flaws or defects or cracks. Everything has to be unforeseen, sudden, external. Normal wear and tear. Defect in existence before insurance. Manufacturer's responsibility. Exchangeable parts, non-metallic parts. Operating media, coating of metal parts. That is insulation. The machinery which we have already seen that insulation will not be covered, or you are giving some oiling, that oil and this that will not be covered. Operating media is not covered. Coating of metal parts with some plastic, that is not covered. Sum insured, how it should be taken? Sum insured of each individual item must represent new replacement value. We are again and again repeating, all engineering policies cover replacement value and not market value. Current replacement value, including transportation to site, custom duty, insurance premium, other erection cost, if there is, so freight, custom duty, other erection installation cost, everything can be added in the machinery. If you are covering only with the invoice, then it will be under insurance. Or if you are specifying that it is not covered, then there will not be under insurance, but insured will not get the other cost. Refund for the standstill period. If a machinery is not being used and it is standstill period, can insured get a refund? Yes, can get the refund. Minimum period should be 3 months. Non-availability of raw material, acute shortage of power, shortage of water supply. These are the reasons. For boilers, steam engine, DG set, standby machine should be available. Some machines are kept standby because they are required so that the continuous power plant is not affected. One DG set is there. If it is damaged, the production will stop. So there may be a standby machine is already kept. So if the standstill period, we should give the refund. In case of continuous process plants, any breakdown and the plant cannot run, hence refund is to be considered for the standstill period. claim experience should be less than 60%. Not applicable for seasonal industry like sugar industry. This specific condition you see that not applicable for seasonal industry, because in sugar industry, work is there only for a certain period. So that standstill is not falling, that plant not working is not falling in the above reasons. It is not, it is decided that sugar industry will work only for 4 months in the season. So this clause standstill does not simply apply to sugar industry because it works only in seasons. CPM is a separate policy.
Ma'am, can you please
Yes.
explain that standstill part for spare machineries? If any machinery is spare and which is new kept in the premises, for that machinery also the standstill period will be
Yes.
applicable.
Yes.
Okay.
CPM, items covered in CPM, we already know. Cranes, bumpers, excavators, tunnel boring machines, which are used for erection and construction of the project. The CPM policy is issued as an extension of the mother policy. Cannot be more than 5% of the sum insured. It is just to avoid concentration of risk. So more than 5%, go for another CPM policy. If you can go for, always it is possible to have a separate or cover under a CR policy. If you are covering our CR or ER, then there is a restriction. What is a CPM? This is an all risk policy. Now machinery is not an all risk policy, but CPM is an all risk policy. This is an all risk policy with specified exclusions printed on the policy. This cover is operative for machine when they are at work or being dismantled or cleaning or overhauling or reassembling thereafter. Rating equipments are classified into 5 groups. You have to remember that equipments are classified into 5 groups. CPM mobile machinery and plant. Yes, there are some CPM mobile machinery and some are stationary plant. Just sometime there was a question on how do you classify it. Earth moving machine is a mobile machine. Tunneling mining machine is a mobile machine. Road roller is a mobile machine. Mobile crane is a mobile machine. Mobile power generator is a mobile machine. Fixed conveyor system is a stationary. Concrete batching plant is stationary. Asphalt mixing plant is a stationary. Tower cranes. In cranes, you will find that mobile cranes are also there and tower cranes are also there. So there is a crane which is falling in mobile also, it is falling in stationary also. Then tower cranes are fixed, so they fall in stationary. So not always that if it is asked whether crane is a mobile or it's a stationary. Mobile can be, cranes can be either mobile or they can be fixed also. Tower cranes will be stationary, whereas other cranes can be moving and mobile. Small points. Important exclusions, loss or damage due to mechanical breakdown is not covered. Like a motor policy, electrical mechanical breakdown is not covered. Consumables like knives, ropes, consumables are not covered. Wear and tear not covered. Loss or damage to plant and machinery working underground, popularly known as exclusion, not applicable to machineries used in tunneling work. Machineries used in tunneling will always be working in underground. So knowingly, if we are giving tunneling work machinery, then it's not applicable. But otherwise, which plant, our understanding is it is going to be worked above ground, should not be worked underground. Loss or damage while in transit is not covered. So I think we all know that CPM cover is at the site when the machine is only working. If it goes from one site to another site of the insured, it can be covered at another site if you are covering CPM multiple transit cover. But if you are covering at site, transit from one site to another site is not covered. But Within the site, it is not necessary that it should be always standing. A site itself may be of a bigger area, larger area, which is a site. Work is going on at site, then the crane can be shifted or the machine CPM can be shifted within the site. But that is not called as transit. That transit is when you are shifting from one site to another site where you will go again on the road. That is not covered. Cover will again start when it is at another site. War is excluded. CPM anywhere in India basis, you can take, if you want to take, policy can be taken at various sites, but again, that floater cover can be given, but as repeated, transit between two locations is not covered. You are covering all sites at one time, floater cover. But you cannot cover the transit between two sites. It has to be take marine every time in between. Shifting within the site will be covered. These mistakes happen practically also while issuing the policies. Though floater is taken, insured has to go for marine when the machine is being shifted from one side to another. Boiler. Items covered: boilers and pressure vessels. Scope of cover: explosion and collapse. Either it gets exploded or it collapses. When the pressure increases, it explodes. When external pressure is more, internal is less, then it will collapse. Legal liability for death, bodily injury, or property of third party can be covered as an add-on cover. Sum insured is the current replacement value. As we already know, it has to be always current replacement value. Escalation, maximum up to 25% can be opted. Extension, the surrounding property, damage to third party, bodily injury. Some statutory regulations are very important for BPP policy. The insured boiler should be certified by boiler inspector for use. Boilers being operated by persons holding valid certificates to operate. Permission to use the boiler from the authority by the boiler inspector. If the maximum pressure or load upon the safety valve immediately prior to the explosion or collapse was in excess of stipulated limit, the insured shall not be entitled for any compensation or indemnity under this policy. So these are the some conditions. Statutory regulations for BPP must be followed. Then there is some loading when the age is more than 25 years. And certificate must be always valid even if the age is more. Exclusions. Loss or damage due to fire and allied risk is an exclusion. That is, explosion and implosion is covered, which may result into fire. But fire and allied risk of standard fire policy is exclusion. Damage by a chemical explosion, except in recovery boilers and waste heat boilers. Wear and tear, because this is a very specialized policy, and if required, you can see the explanation in the BPP policy clause. Failure of individual tubes is not covered. Generally, tubes, valves, because they are limited life parts, they will not be covered. MLOP. Yesterday we have seen FLOP. Today we will see MLOP. Similar, however, rating part will not be as simple as fire policy, because for fire FLOP portion, same fire rate is charged. But for MLOP, same rate will not be charged. For fire, same rate as charged to the basic fire policy is charged. But for MLOP, the machinery, depending on the nature of machinery, the resultant loss due to loss of profit will also differ. So rating has to be separately done, seeing some factors related to the machines. This policy covers loss of gross profit following accidental breakdown of machines. After breakdown of the critical machine, the actual cost for replacing the damaged parts may not be very huge, but following losses may follow, right? So machinery damage may be less, material damage claim may be small, but the losses due to loss of profit may be very high. So no profit as no production. So production may stop and MLOP claim may be more, but the machinery cost may be less. Standing charges payable, we have seen any loss of profit policy will cover standing charges like salary, interest, rent, etc. are to be paid. They have to be covered. As we have seen FLOP, we are aware of this. ICOW, what is ICOW? Increased cost of working. Extra money required to start the production from an alternate place or with some alternative machine. Now, with this, we will understand. There is an MBD policy which this explains very clearly. There is a breakdown to the machinery. Claim is admissible. Cause is results into interruption in the production process, which will result into reduction in the turnover. If it could not be made good in the maximum indemnity period, then results into loss of gross profit. If the reduction in turnover, you understand what we say here? There will be reduction in turnover. It will result into loss of gross profit. Now, what is this? Could not be made good in maximum indemnity period. What we understand by this? There is a reduction in there is a loss. Still, there is a material damage loss to the machinery. There is reduction in turnover, but could not be made in the maximum indemnity period is if there is a reduction in turnover in the first 15 days. But in the next 15 days, if the speed is increased or if the workers work more or takes more efforts and can make up the turnover in the indemnity period opted is 6 months. Then the reduction in the first 1 month is already made up in the next month in the indemnity period opted. Then there will be no result in the gross profit. If there is no loss, then there is no claim. So that one line is important here, that it could not be made. Generally, it cannot be made in the indemnity period because factory works to the full capacity, then it will not be able to make good. That reduction in turnover will always result. In other words, we are trying to say there should be a reduction in the turnover. Who can be the insured for MLOP? There has to be a MB policy. The risk must be earning a gross profit. If there is no gross profit, then we will not be giving any MLOP policy. We can still give MB policy because we are going to give physical loss or damage. Net loss situation can be covered, but no cover for gross loss situation, because if there is no gross profit, what are we going to compensate? We cannot compensate only standing charges because he is already working at a loss. So remember, gross profit, no MLOP policy. If there is net loss, we can still give a policy because there is some gross profit. Gross loss situation will arise. When will it arise? When the turnover is not sufficient to meet out all the manufacturing expenses. What does the insurance pay? Loss of net profit following reduction in the turnover plus fixed expenses. We are repeating just what we saw yesterday. What we are covering under MLOP? Standing charges plus net profit. Increased cost of working if incurred. Less saving in fixed expenses during the maximum indemnity period. We are saying that we are going to pay standing charges, which are the fixed expenses which insured has to incur irrespective of loss. That's why we are paying the standing charges. But if the standing charges covered under the policy are saved due to any reason, we don't know, we are not going into the reasons. If the standing charges insured is able to save, if he has saved, then that can be deducted. Again, definition, this is repetition. turnover, fixed cost plus variable cost plus net profit. Gross profit, in other words, can be as called as standing charges plus net profit, or we can call as turnover minus variable cost. It is all the same. Just we are repeating so that if it is mentioned differently, we should not get confused. Gross profit is standing charges plus net profit. But if it is a net loss, then standing charges minus net loss is going to be the sum insured. What is the sum insured? Gross profit. But if gross profit, there is a loss, then gross profit will get reduced as much as the standing charges. Rate of gross profit, we have seen rate of gross profit per unit earned on the output during the financial year. Now, rate of gross profit can be calculated amount-wise on the turnover amount, or it can be calculated on the output basis per output. Standard output during that period. We are talking in the term of output. Okay. When we are saying, yesterday we said standard turnover, all the same. When you are using an amount, then it's the turnover, and you can use the terminology as output also. Output during that period in the 12 months immediately before the date of damage. Annual output, the output during the 12 months before the loss. To which adjustment shall be done for trend in business variations or special business circumstances. What is this line? Now, if the gross profit in the last year is less, there was some net loss, or gross profit was less because of COVID or some reason, and insured expects that in the next year he will improve his business. So he is going for a higher gross profit than what his financial accounts are showing. So it is not binding that insured should go for gross profit as per his books of accounts. Books of accounts we will see. We are supposed to see the books of account, the final accounts, to see whether there was gross profit or gross loss in the last 3 years. But if the insured feels that my gross profit is 25%, but I expect my turnover will increase, my gross profit will increase, he can consciously go for a higher sum insured. Simply going for higher sum insured is not sufficient. Then the trend should show. Like the loss may be after some 6 months. Then if the trend is business is showing that he is improving from last year, then in which case the surveyor can do adjustments for the trend in business, the increase, the decrease, or the various circumstances, then that calculation. It is for the calculation purpose. Sum insured should be expected gross profit. That is what I explained just now. It need not be the gross profit of last year. It happened in last 2 years that due to COVID, the production was less. But they expect their business is growing, so they can go for a higher gross profit. Net profit plus standing charges is the gross profit based on last year's. It should be somewhere based on accounting figures. If last 3 years they are showing loss and they are suddenly going for a higher sum insured, we should explain that they are not going to get a claim only because they are going to take a higher sum insured. If there is a higher sum insured, after all, we are going to see the standard turnover or standard output in the last year. Then if there is a disproportionately higher gross profit shown, it will not help. It will only help if in the beginning of the year, after taking the policy, there is a increasing trend. So trend in increase or decrease will also all can be considered while the insured is fixing the gross profit. What will be the premium rate for MLOP? As I already told, MLOP rate not same like fire FLOP. Same rate of fire will not be charged. In MLOP, rate will depend on relative importance of the machine. Every machine will not have same importance in the production. So normally, what role that machine is playing will also result or will also indicate how much loss will be there. Every machine, if there is one machine just kept extra, then that gets damaged. It may not affect at all the profit. One machine which can be replaced immediately, or a machine which is working as a independent function. Machine which is a very crucial part of a processing plant where connected machinery are there. So the interruption period is a part of the indemnity period. Indemnity period may be larger, interruption period may be a smaller portion. So relative importance of the machine will have to be seen while fixing the rate. We will not go into rating, but we are seeing as to what will affect the rating. Indemnity period, it is the maximum period of interruption if there is a breakdown of the insured machine for which insurer is liable. This can be equal or less than the policy period. It is his option. Time excess machinery indemnity policies will have time excess. They will not have excess in amount like our basic policies, or what we call as the machine policy or the material damage policy. There is a policy deterioration of stock. Yesterday we have seen under fire, there is an add-on of deterioration of stock in cold storage. This is a similar, that there is a the subject matter of insurance for deterioration of stock, contents of the cold storage. For example, potatoes, other than potatoes, risk covered contamination, putrefaction, and or deterioration following a breakdown of refrigerating unit. We are seeing deterioration of stock under marine machine. We are seeing under engineering department today. By engineering department, so it is linked to the breakdown of the machine. When we saw it under fire, the fire failure should be as a result of fire at the power station. Now we are seeing under the engineering department, so it is connected to the breakdown of the refrigerating unit. Now, why there is a breakdown to the refrigerating unit? Damage to only cold storage machinery by accidental means subject to admissibility of the claim under machinery insurance policy covering the cold storage machine. So one basic thing we have to understand, that in the cold storage contents, deterioration cover is always linked to the machinery policy. No machinery policy, no deterioration cover. Admissibility under machinery policy, damage to the machinery, then the question comes of damage to the contents in the cold storage. So cold storage content damage due to deterioration is not an independent cover, but it is connected to your machinery. Machinery damaged, cold storage contents is damaged. Now, why it will get damaged? Because if there is fall in the temperature. Why there will be fall in the temperature? Due to machinery breakdown. Why there will be machinery breakdown? Peril should be covered under our policy. So no machinery breakdown, no cover for rise or fall in the temperature to the contents. Sum insured, maximum value of the stock in the cold storage at any one time. Extensions, failure of electric supply at terminal end due to machinery breakdown. Yesterday, damage to the power station or damage to the power at insured place. So similarly, we are saying failure of electrical supply at the local supply place itself. And there is a machinery breakdown. Machinery breakdown, again, machinery breakdown. And due to that, cold storage contents getting damaged. Again, rationing or fuel shortage, that temperature maintaining insured has to do. What is not covered? Shrinkage, inherent defects, improper storage, insufficient circulation, willful act, excess or franchise, as given in the policy. Electronic equipment policy, generally we know this policy. Again, electronic equipment here comes as an all-risk policy.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt you regarding this machinery breakdown, wherein deterioration of stock part is there. In case the insured has taken both fire policy and this particular add-on cover for this deterioration of stock,
Okay.
and in machinery breakdown also some kind of claim occurs because of the insured peril. So where the claim is going to be first administrable?
A very hypothetical question this is, because machinery breakdown is there, then only
Yes.
your cold storage is going to get damaged.
But due to
That
insured,
breakdown, if it is not, when there is a breakdown, you know, in fire exclusion 7,
yes,
so machinery damaged from outside source is only the damage falling under fire. Machinery is
Oh.
damaged from internal source is not a fire cover. So
Okay,
this
so
situation, if there is
in-
an outside, there is an fire at the power station or insured premises, that damages the machinery, and then it will fall under fire policy.
okay, the
Then
internal
generally it
damage
should
of
fall
the
under fire policy.
okay.
Okay.
And internal damage of the machinery, this cold storage machinery, so it will be covered here in machinery breakdown.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Extensions and exclusions of DOS policy. I explained this. See, there is something important. We say failure of electrical supply. What is the short form of this? FOES. As this is terminal, at the local supply place is an extension. So this extension is called as FOES. Though you have studied this, when the word FOES will come, you will not know what is that. So there is a question which comes generally saying that what is FOES? And there will be various options given. So FOES is failure of electrical supply, which is an extension under DOS policy. Okay, so DOS does not cover all these exclusions are very common. FOES you can write and keep. FOES is a common question. Electronic equipment policy, we know it is an all risk policy, so it covers fire, burglary, everything. Okay, it is, we are aware of this. It is a combination of all covers. So for an electronic equipment, we need not give a machinery breakdown policy. We have to give an electronic equipment policy, because if we give an MB policy, then fire is not covered. Electronic equipment covers, MB covers also and fire covers also. So if you are covering electronic equipment under electronic equipment policy, there is no need to give a fire policy. But if it is covered in both, then because electronic equipment policy is taken considering more from the breakdown angle. And if that sum insured is appearing also in a general total fire sum insured, then some discount you can give on the EI policy, because you have added it also in the fire policy. All risk policy. There are 3 sections. In the beginning of the session, I said that there are 3 sections, in which the third section and the second section are generally never thought of or given. Insured does not opt also. First section is material damage to the equipment due to all reasons. But cover material damage to external data media. The sum insured shall be the amount required for replacing the lost or the damaged data media by new data media. Okay. It is not external data, it is external data media. Okay, by new material and for reproducing lost information only for backup data, but not for master data. So what we are trying to say here in simple words is the data media is covered and not the data. So expenses here will be what is the cost required to get that data again. If that data is, why generally people don't opt for this is because the data lost is always available in some other source with the insured. Very rarely it happens that some machine, one electronic equipment is destroyed and the data is not available at all. Then that media is only covered and not the actual data. Okay, so external data media is that hard disk and which parts which are kept in the machine for the collecting the storing the data. Now, third is increased cost of working. Following the breakdown of equipments, the cost may be used for substituted equipment and personnel and cost of personnel and cost of the transportation. So increased cost of working can be covered, increased cost of working, which will then reduce the loss of the insured. So incurred cost of working is generally like an consequential loss, which benefits the insured by increasing the cost. He is saving the loss, his loss, so it can be covered, but generally this is not opted. But this is a section which results only due to damage in the first part. So this is not an independent section. First section, then second section, and then the third section can be opted. Section 1 is also always going to be compulsory. Wear and tear defects will not be covered. Willful, a consequential loss of any kind. Claims can come of repairs, external data, floppies and disks. Claim can come if opted, increased cost of working, additional expenses following admissible of loss, hiring additional machines, or for using new premises to carry out the work at higher cost. Reinstatement of sum insured is applicable. All engineering policies. Discount for fire insurance on EI policy can be given because it is already covered under fire portion also. Then discount can be given without any extension. Now, if you are covering fire policy with all extension, then more discount is given. But if you are covering only fire without EQ STFI, then you are giving only 5% discount. Like in other words, EQ and STFI must be covered either fire portion or EEI portion. In fire, if you have covered EQ, STFI and fire also, then you can give 10% discount. But if you have covered only for fire, then 5% discount, you cover EQ and STFI. Generally, this question you remember for exam purpose. With extension 10%, without extension 5% discount. Because now, because of non-tariff, we are giving any rate. So for practical purpose, we should say that if you are giving only EEI and not covering that machine under fire portion, then your EEI premium should add EQ and STFI. If you are going with giving 90%, 95% discount, yet your premium should cover EQ and STFI. Should not go lower than EQ and STFI premium. So tariff also says add EQ and STFI to your EI policy also. CECR, generally we are not issuing this policy, but it is there. Comprehensive insurance protection against loss or damage after the construction has been completed. Why CECR then? We are always giving fire policy. But fire policy we are giving, burglary policy we are giving to a completed completed project. When the project is completed, we are always giving fire policies. But what more is covered under a CECR policy? Minimum what you remember is the full form of what is CECR. It is a comprehensive civil engineering completed risk insurance. Now, in case of certain, when you see the perils, you will know that these perils we are not covering under fire policy. Impact by waterborne vehicles or aircraft. In the fire policy, impact damage covers vehicles, animals, insured's own vehicle or third-party vehicle, animal. But we don't cover by waterborne under the fire policy. That is not falling in the add-on also. Impact by waterborne is not covered under our standard fire policy. Aircraft is covered, but waterborne is not covered. So this is covered here. Earthquake, volcanism, tsunami, storm flood, subsidence. Then this frost and avalanche, that is also covered. Then vandalism of individual persons, fire lighting. So it is a little wider cover than fire policy. So it can be given. Generally, it is not issued practically, but at least for the exam purpose, you can remember. Exclusions will be willful, inherent wise, inadequate maintenance, consequential, we need not see. Exclusions are most common. One policy on which questions will be asked mostly is ALOP. And why it is asked? Because we tend not to know anything about this policy. MLOP at least we know, FLOP we know, but ALOP generally very few policies are issued. So we just understand what is a ALOP policy. We say MLOP or FLOP, which policies basically are after a loss happens in the basic policy. This is a policy wherein the policy, no damage in the basic policy is required. It is a policy which is taken before the policy, which results into delay in the project. And that's why it is linked to engineering policies and not to fire policies, because it is related to CAR or EAR. Fire policy starts only when the construction is completed. We don't, of course, there is one exception of building under course of construction, but fire policy will cover when the project is completed. ALOP is required where the project gets delayed because there is a loss. Now, when does this come into picture? Issued only to the principal or owner of the project. So remember, this question was asked once. ALOP is not given to a contractor. You are giving CR policy to contractor or principal or in combination of principal plus contractor. But ALOP can be given only to the principal, because principal is the sufferer here and not the contractor. Issued only to the principal or owner of the project in advance of the actual commencement of the business for delay in commencement of the project. So what is the reason for giving ALOP? There is a loss because of which project gets delayed. Now, when will the project get delayed? ALOP policy covers financial loss due to delay in the starting of the project because of loss or damage to the project arising out of insured peril of the project policy during, it can be transit, storage, erection, or commissioning phase of the project. See here, ALOP policy, why does this policy first of all come into existence? There can be a loss in the transit before the policy starts, storage before the erection starts. During also erection, there can be some loss because of which half project is completed. Then there is a loss. Ultimately, the principal owner is at a loss because the erection gets delayed. And for all these reasons, so ALOP reasons for delay need not be only transit. It can be transit or storage or erection. So basically, you have to know why ALOP policy is required. It is a particular class of consequential loss. Generally, we feel that consequential loss is after a loss. This is also after a loss, but not loss as we see in a fire policy. Okay, and covers financial consequences of a delay in estimated commercial operation date. So there is a delay. Because of delay, why there is a loss to the principal? There is no physical loss of profit. It is a commercial operation date which got delayed. In case of FLOP, there is a fixed calculation because your base is the profit last year. There was a production last year. The production is reduced. The turnover is reduced. Because of the reduced in the turnover, last year there was a profit of 25%. This year there is no profit. So the calculation is very simple. Now, when you come to ALOP, before you come to sum insured, you understand this. There was a estimated date of commercial starting of the project anticipated by the principal. If my erection starts and completes by a particular date, my commercial will start after 15 days or 1 month after my testing, everything is completed. After I bring my raw material, everything, my commercial profit will start. Now, because of the delay, his commercial operation date, COD, will get delayed. right? Because of there is a claim, may be admissible under marine or EAR or CAR. But how do you know what is going to be the loss to the principal? Because there is no previous experience available here in this policy. Okay. So what are the financial consequences? Liquidity. His short-term flow gets disturbed because he must have taken a loan. He has taken a loan considering that after 1 year, my project will start, my production will start, my profit will start, and I will pay back the loan. His profitability is affected. There is no profit because no project. His growth is not there. His standing charges and continuing expenses will start because he has already appointed people, maybe. Some part of standing charges, at least he has to incur. Now, policy covers financial losses in the form of continuing expenses. That is the standing charges, such as loan, debentures, wages, salaries, and the anticipated profit. So when we are coming to the sum insured, there is no base here. Is there a base of gross profit? There is no financial account. There is no balance sheet where we see what was his profit. He is just starting a project. When he is starting a project, there is no base of what was his last year's profit, like FLOP. It is going to be only the anticipated profit. So it is sum insured is going to be the standing charges plus the anticipated profit. So standing charges remain the same. Standing charges may be different because standing charges here will have a bigger portion of loan, payment of loan, the installments. That expenses will be there. Then whatever he has invested in debentures, he is going to pay the wages, salaries. Some standing charges later on may not result into standing charges, but anticipated planned standing charges and anticipated profit, this is what is going to be his sum insured, which is little difficult to anticipate. How it is anticipated then? It is anticipated based on how will he anticipate insured? How will his financier give a loan? All this depends on a similar project of a similar size constructed already. So you are talking about a distillery plant. Distillery plant of a certain capacity. What expense is required in a distillery plant of the similar capacity which was erected previously? With that statistics, this sum insured has to be taken. There is no base. His own experience is not there. He will depend on the experience of some other. And based on that anticipated amount only, the financier is also giving a loan. So anticipated gross profit, turnover, everything is anticipated. Indemnity period will all depend on the previous experience of a similar project. Other name of the policy is also called, we are calling it as ALOP. It can also be called as DSU. Sometimes DSU was asked and we don't know what is DSU. So DSU is delay in startup. Same, ALOP can also be called as DSU. Okay. Exclusions, material damage we are not going to pay. For that, which policy is taken? The ER or the CR policy. Unsatisfactory repairs from client's viewpoint, causing delays or consequential loss because some not proper work was being done and because of that delay. Now here in ALOP policy, the surveyor and the insurance company will have to differentiate between delays which are due to genuine reasons and delays due to unsatisfactory work. Sometimes for no reason, the CR and ER work is stopped. I think daily we are getting examples of such projects where the insured is not taking a CR policy, not taking a ER policy and trying to start the work. And after some work is completed, he is not getting any amount from the financer. Then financer is asking, where is the policy? Then the insured will stop the work. Then he will, because he is short of money, he will go for CR policy. There are difficulties in getting CR and ER because the work has commenced. Insurance company will say we need to have an inspection. Then he will think he will get a policy from that day onwards. No, CR policy will cover from the day the work has commenced. So he has to unnecessarily pay for premium from the back. So all this results into delay. Such delays will not be covered. So the delay will also have to be differentiated, right? Delays will have to be differentiated, which is a genuine delay and which is a delay due to insureds. So for all we are saying, this policy can be taken by the principal. So contractors work which delays the work will also cause the delay which will not be covered under the policy, and this the insured or the principal will have to make it very clear to the contractor. Loss damage due to inventory losses, loss damage to the surrounding property, nothing such will be given under ALOP because it will be given under your CRER policy. Any restrictions are imposed by public authority due to which the work is stopped, there is delay. No, delay has to be due to the perils covered under your. That's why the first slide was very important, that delay has to be due to marine or loss at storage or your erection work, and which is admissible under the policy. Non-availability of funds because of which he is not doing the work, delaying, no. Delay in shipment of the supplies. Now there is a large possibility that the work which could not start because the marine the material required for erection could not reach the site in time. That is due to delay in marine, right? So normal project schedule, slip, cancellation of license or government restrictions, stoppage of work or strike. Here I will add delay due to marine. Delay due to marine can be added under a marine policy as DSU against marine. Practically nobody is taking. We are talking of DSU against engineering policy. There can be DSU connected to your marine policy. That is a delay in startup due to marine. So if the insured wants to take a policy because there is a loss because of marine delay, then only due to marine, then can be a marine DSU. That falls under marine department and not under engineering department. Strike is there. So you know that the reasons has to be either loss covered under ER policy. Okay. The ALOP policy is mainly given to the principal. The fundamental, these are the points which you must remember. To principal, they will ask whether whether CR can be given to principal, contractor, both together, yes. But ALOP only to the principal. Concurrent material damage insurance must be there. Same insurer has to be there for ALOP and MD, not with another company and erection with some other company. Insurance premium period identical to MD erection period. ALOP should be taken together with the MD policy. Only one claim per policy. This is interesting, right? One claim per policy. Number of incidents could be more. So there are various reasons for delay. But claim is going to be one after combining all delays. So delay ultimately is once only. Causes could be more. Delay ascertained once only. You are not going to ascertain the delay when there is a loss. You are going to ascertain only when the project is finalized and you know which is going beyond your COD. The commercial date of starting the project, you will know only when it starts. So this claim cannot be paid in between in the currency of the policy. So there can be only one claim, incidents more, but delay will be calculated only once. Only one time excess per policy because one claim. Indemnity period should be sufficiently long to take care. This is advisable, not as a rule or a tariff provision. Like worst possible delay should take. This we have seen already when there is net profit or net loss situation. So just the unique features of ALOP, one insured party. Parties cannot be more. One completion date. One completion date is there. One scheduled commencement date was there, which insured has to give. Insured cannot take ALOP without giving a completion date. Then only delay can be calculated, no? Then this whatever was the revenue and whatever is anticipated profit, one delay can be one, incidents can be more. One indemnity resulting from lost revenue, only one claim, one time excess, and one claim under ALOP policy. All other policies generally can have more than one claim under the policy. FLOP also can have one fire loss, one FLOP. Then again, after 6 months, there is another fire loss, another FLOP. But ALOP will not have more than, so everything 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, now we can take the few questions are there, which of course you can also do later. Then if there are any doubts, you can ask any doubts if there are, otherwise we can go to the, what is this? Vijay Jadhav, if turned by authority exclusion. What is that? Boiler policies cover only boilers. If turned by authority exclusion, what is that? Is there anything that is not covered? Because something that was put in the chat may sometimes automatically get covered little later. So is there anything that anyone wants to ask?
Ma'am, can you explain about waiver of contribution?
Waiver of contribution. What is contribution? Are you aware? What is contribution clause?
Yes, ma'am.
What is a contribution clause? What is a contribution clause?
When 2 or more policies are covered, then,
Yes.
then it is contributed according to the sum insured.
Right. So there is a policy with New India and there is a policy with some other company. Okay. Then both policies will contribute in proportion to their sum insured, right? Sum insured is different, then they, in the proportion they will contribute. If you say waiver of contribution, it automatically means insured is lodging a claim on your policy. You have to pay on your policy only. You cannot ask some other company to contribute.
Okay, like that. Okay.
Yes. So waiver of contribution and waiver of subrogation can also be given because that's a market demand. Otherwise, we don't want to, but these are market demands. So sometimes it can also happen. Why we are giving? Because sometimes there may be two policies. We are not aware of the second policy. Very rarely the contribution we are exercising. We may not be aware unless the insured declares, surveyor finds out. We don't come to know whether there is any other policy for the same project. Okay, sometimes building and machinery is covered under one policy, only stock is covered under another policy. Then that's not a contribution clause, right? Contribution clause comes when you are covering the same property under two insurance companies. Then the basic insurance principle says that both policies should contribute in the proportion of their sum insured. If you waive, then you will not even find out whether there is any other policy. You will have to pay on your policy. There's not much risk. So if there is a demand getting good premium, it will be waived. But otherwise, it is there. Basically, it is there. Contribution and subrogation are the corollaries of principle of indemnity. They are very much part of that. But if required, we can waive consciously, knowingly. It's not a tariff provision, waiver. Yes. Anything else?
Yeah.
Reactor in pharma industry falls under LOP. No, it falls under boiler or MB policy. See, for boiler, there is going to be, I will say whatever, not a very technical person. So boiler definition, boiler, there is steam generated. Boiler is something where there is steam generated. What is the definition? So this dispute is always there. So better you practically, if you are having some problem, then okay. boiler and pressure vessels which generate pressure in their normal operations. So this is the definition. So if it does not fall in this definition, then it can be covered under a machinery breakdown. Even in claims, this comes whether it is falls under MB or BP. It will fall under MB because it is not generating any pressure and it is not generating any steam. But more technical, then better take some specialized engineer. DE5 covered only ER, only up to, yes, that is covered. That is DE5 in ER and only up to DE4 in CR. Correct. Anything else? Surrounding property. Okay, that is already discussed. Okay, in this case, can damage also be covered in fire policy? झालं ना? Impact damage is cleared. Okay, now anything else? Again, you have the, is there something? No, I see reactor is the last. Okay, how can we differentiate between? Okay, I very much tariff provision is there. If there are electronic parts, okay, if there are electronic parts, only electronic cover under electronic. If there are electronic parts and non-electronic parts, you have the option of covering under EI or MBD. Okay. If you have a equipment which is a pure electronic equipment, cover under EI. If there is an equipment which is a combination of non-electronic and electronic, you have the option of covering under MBD or EI. No, level of difficulty will also change scale 1, 2 or 3. Truly, it will be more difficulty level at 3. But I can certainly say that scale 1 and 2, we forget. As we go ahead, we forget. But everything that is there in the PPT will at least surely cover for 1 and 2. Okay, 3 to 4 maybe have to, and always I have tried to take something from the material that is available, right? This is, we have tariff, we have clauses, and clauses, our clauses are the ultimate, and our insurance books of III are giving every information there. So whatever has been covered has been extracted from that, and thinking about the psychology of the setting the paper, that generally what is not seen or required, which will be asked in the exam, so that difficulty level has to be made so that it is a real competitive exam, right? So in addition to what is given in the PPT, try to go through the clauses and whatever. See, you can't read all the books, but engineering book will be there for associate. Go through that, and higher the level, you go through the clauses more carefully. Clauses will give, engineering manual will give little more details, but without going into the basics, then going into the higher level is not possible. So cover the basics and try, with the time available, try to go at the more and more difficult level.
Ma'am, in case of CPM policy,
Yes.
Do the insured or the contractor who is taking the policy need to specify the location, or they can get it anywhere on India basis? Or
no, you are covering under ER policy. Then ER policy, if you are going independent, okay,
independent CPM policy thing.
Yes, separate policy.
CPM policy.
Separate policy, you have to tell whether you are the contractor or you are the owner.
No, the location basis issue is regarding the location basis. Do the insured do the
no, you are talking about CPM, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about CPM. So do the person who is taking the policy need to specify the locations where these machineries are going to be used, or anywhere?
Yes, very much.
Okay.
In CPM also, unspecified locations are not permitted. You have to declare the locations. It is a floater policy, but not unspecified locations. You have to
So if he-
name the locations.
No, so if he asks for an anywhere in India cover, to can it be given?
No. See, tariff does not permit. Tariff does not permit. Tariff says you specify the location, because any location loss will take place and you are not aware of that location and the loss will take place. No, you have to take. Insured must be aware as to which all locations in this year where he is going to take. If he has too many locations, okay, too many locations, then let him go for individual policies. Okay,
Okay,
location,
ma'am.
tariff says, so if you are going by tariff, you have to take the location address.
Okay, ma'am.
Madam, that
Let
floater
there be
declaration
50,
policy is there.
let there be 50, but you have to take the addresses.
Declaration policy is there in CPF.
Sorry?
Different locations is there. There will be a
Yes,
declaration
different
policy.
locations, but take the location address.
Yeah. Policy is there.
Of course, there is a rate. If you are giving floater, see, there is a CPM policy. If you are covering multiple locations, then it's a floater cover, obviously. Because you are covering with one premium, you are covering at so many locations, then there is a provision for floater cover.
Yes.
For that floater, you have to charge 10% extra. But floater cover is given for specified locations. They have to be specified in the policy. Don't take the risk of not specifying, even for practical purpose.
Thank you.
Yes. You have the PPT, you have the other material. Anytime, any doubt or any suggestion, you can discuss. You have our numbers. It is sharing of knowledge, but let all of us improve our knowledge. And all the best in the exam. Okay? Sure, all will score good marks. But with that, I would like to say that with whatever time you get, you try to explore and see other material also available, whatever you get. Right? Thank you so much for the patient hearing and some good
Thank you so
questions
much,
also.
ma'am.
Thank you, madam.
Yeah, some good questions also, because questions adds to our knowledge as well as it adds to the other participants also. There's an advantage to all the participants. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you. All the best. All the best.